And we're live. What's up, guys? Isaac Wilkins here, host of the Be Relentless podcast and head coach and owner of Relentless Strength Training in Bangor, Maine. And today's going to be a Monday quick hit. Welcome to the podcast. I'm going to try to keep it on the shorter side. Usually I try to get under 10 minutes on these quick hits. Sometimes I get a little long-winded. And I'm also trying something a little bit new. So for those of you that are now watching this on YouTube, I'm filming at least hopefully most of the episodes of this podcast. So if you're listening, then I seem a little distracted. That's because I'm messing with the camera and I'm still getting used to that. So if you are new, welcome aboard. I appreciate you listening. And basically this podcast is a combination of fitness, strength training, that type of thing, as well as also the mindset, the performance end of it, on the mental side, building grit, building mental fortitude, change, transformation, all that type of stuff. Because I think that those things are they're all meshed in as one. And if you're going to do a good job at making any sort of a change or improvement, you kind of need to hit all the things that fall into that, whether it's on the training side or on the mental side. So we're going to try to cover that over the course of the many episodes of this podcast. Today I want to talk about change, and I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't seem to have a good handle on when they try to make a change. And they try to make too big of a change. They try to blow their life up, basically, which I totally understand the appeal of, in that if you're not happy where you are, you kind of have this sense like, oh, I gotta really make some changes. I gotta fix some stuff, and maybe you're right. Maybe you do need to make a lot of major changes in your life. Maybe you're really screwing up. I know I've been there for sure and needed to make some big changes in my life. But the issue with that is if you make all kinds of changes, you explode your life. It's very, very difficult to sustain that and keep going. The mind's going to find that huge change to be tremendously stressful. And once it gets stressful, that lizard brain is going to take over and it's going to want to drag you right back to what you're used to. Because even if you weren't happy, it knows how to deal with that. So the big key that I've found with people that have made successful transformations, stuff like that, by and large, there's a few people obviously that are exceptions to the rule, but by and large, without a tremendously compelling life-changing event, which if you have one of those, probably is very stressful, but without something like that, it's very, very difficult to make the change. So the people that are successful, they tend to be the ones that have made gradual changes over time. And that definition can change. So, what's a gradual change eventually, or what may be a small change eventually, could be a big deal if you're stuck and you haven't made a change in years. You're really kind of bound down to that inertia and that depression and that comfortable misery that we talk about, that like shitty existence. If you're stuck there, then even just making a little change could be a big deal, because that could be the first change you've done in a long time. So when it comes to that, what I focus on with people is finding one thing, maybe two, and working on changing those until that becomes the new normal, until your mind starts to adjust to the idea not only of that specific change, whatever that is, but adjust to the idea of change and starts to become more comfortable with the idea that, okay, things are going to be different now, whatever that may be. And until that starts to happen, you're kind of always going to be swimming upstream. And that's just going to be a very hard thing to sustain. So how does that happen? How do we go about it the most efficient way? Well, like all change, it's going to start with making a decision to change. It's going to start with making that moment where you say, okay, I'm going to change. I'm going to make something better. I'm going to do something different for myself. And I'm going to do something positive for me, whatever that is. I'm going to stop doing something negative for me, or whatever it is you decide to do, and we can get into specifics of that in other episodes. But there comes a real definitive decision needs to be made versus, hoping it's just going to kind of keep working out or just wishing it to get better. By and large, that's not going to work. So once you make that decision, though, the next thing is figuring out where you actually can make some good changes that are probably something you can actually stick with at this point. So that's where finding something that, you can just say, look, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore, whatever that is. I'm going to focus on this aspect of success. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is that you're trying to make a change, focus on just that. Put everything else on the back burner. even things that you know that eventually you're probably going to end up changing, don't worry about them yet. So, like, one of the big things that we look for, or that I see a lot of people that do well with and they change, is they find like a couple of changes that have a good ripple effect in the rest of their life. Kind of, you call them keystone habits. So, like, across the board, people who lose a bunch of weight, for example, just use that as an easy one, or a simple example. And that usually people do a couple of things. They cut out soda and they start walking. You'll hear that over and over and over again. Or they swap fries for a salad or something very simple like that, but they make a new rule. They make 2 new rules. Then they say, look, I won't tolerate myself drinking soda. I won't tolerate myself not going for a walk 3 times a week, 5 times a week, 6 times a week, 7 times a week, whatever it is that they do. It almost, like, in the grand scheme of things, it almost doesn't matter what the change is at this point, but they set themselves rules to say, I'm going to start doing these things. And that has, because those are big, like, keystone habits, that has, like, downstream effects. Yes, they start losing weight because they burn more calories from the walking. They start losing weight because they're not taking in as many sugar calories. Their insulin, chronic insulin goes down, all that good stuff. That's fine. That's all good. But more than anything else, it starts to trickle over to everything else they do, because now they're making positive, health conscious decisions. They're making decisions that are going to move themselves better, and they can build off those decisions. So after a couple weeks of no more soda, and no more, and starting to walk, next thing you know, they're like, oh, well, maybe I could try to go to that gym, or maybe I could, maybe I should get some dumbbells for home, or maybe I should, maybe I could get up in the morning and start doing some push-ups and some sit-ups. As opposed to, maybe not drinking soda anymore. I'm going to keep doing that, but also maybe I'm going to swap out the vegetables for fries, or swap out the fries for vegetables rather. Whatever it is that they do, but it gives them something to build off of, and they'll keep seeing greater results because of that, because they made those conscious decisions, and they've done it without blowing their whole life up. They've done it without really exploding everything they do, by joining a gym, adding a complicated diet, trying to work out 5-6 days a week, trying to do this and then get this life hack and drink bulletproof coffee and do whatever the hell else that they do that the internet tells them is awesome and may even be good stuff, but is going to be too much and it's not going to be sustainable. So make your changes. You want to build a better body, build a better life, make your changes, pick a couple of them, things that you can actually sustain and do those things. Don't explode your whole life, but then use those to start to filter out and build into the rest of your life. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you watching, those of you that are on the new YouTube. If this has been beneficial for you, if you know anybody that needs to hear this, please give it a share. That's how the message gets out there. That's how we get better. And above all things, I want to thank you for choosing to be relentless.